Hello and welcome everybody to the Hypetrain podcast. My name is Hannes.
Woot. Sorry.
You interrupted me. People can tell that we're rookies at this.
I thought I should say woot woot after you said the name. Go again. Let's go again.
Welcome everybody to the Hypetrain podcast. My name is Hannes.
My name is Martin.
Oh, now we can do it. 1, 2, 3. Woot, woot.
Woot, woot. We wanted to have the chugga, 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 woot, woot, I thought. But maybe next week.
Next week we go at it.
Yeah.
Some context, perhaps. Hypetrain podcast, that's a strange name. Well, you and me, Martin, we have been working together for a long time, a couple of years at least.
Yep.
And we usually refer to our work as the Hypetrain. Our single most important, the single most important aspect of our relationship is our phone calls, where we just hype each other all the time.
Yeah, it's like we're like, we can text each other like, do you need one soon? Yeah, I think I need one soon. And then it's just basically we calling up each other and basically trying to tell each other why life is wonderful. And it's just the magical, we just have some magical conversations sometimes. And often it feels like, this, I want to tell, I don't know. We feel a big hype after those calls. It's always woot woot at the end of those calls.
Yeah. And with this podcast, perhaps we can get some more passengers aboard the hype train. I don't know. Perhaps we can hype some other guys.
And it's so funny because hype train is meant as something like false, right? Something negative. It's like false hype, isn't it?
That's our relationship in a nutshell.
Which is why the name is perfect.
Yes. Like if we look at our projects we've worked on, we should mention that what do we call you? The
superstar of the universe.
Superstar of the universe. You're a composer, musician, and the front figure of Vintergatan, the band. Together we work on the Vintergatan YouTube channel. I am the editor.
It was the most epic day when I met Hannes. We were on tour in Sweden and we were going to play in Vänersborg, which is famous for the best falafels of whole Sweden. The falafel sauce specifically.
Yeah,
right? Yeah. So we were going to play in Vänersborg on this really small little venue, and it was like in Sweden we have something called fritidsgård, which is basically a fun house paid by the government for kids to hang out in. It's like that's socialism for you guys. And it's cool because I grew up playing music in a fritidsgård, and so my first band was rehearsing in one of those places. So basically there's a room with amplifiers and drum kit paid by the government, basically. Just free to use for anyone who wants to start a band and doesn't have any money. Anyway, so we were playing at this fritidsgård, and I knew that David, the bass player's friend, Hannes, was going to come and see the show. And I knew about Hannes because you had a film company called Levande Bilder.
That's true.
And you just had this viral hit where you made Super Mario Bros. Animation with beads. Like you were animating... Is it called beads in English?
Yep, beads.
Yeah. So you and your film crew made these amazing Super Mario Bros. Things. And David told me before, Hannes and the gang, they are super cool. They are the biggest nerds in the world. They're gonna come to the show, and we should meet them. We should meet them afterwards. And then that was the first time we met, I think, that day after the concert.
My office was one floor up from this fritidsgård venue. So I was just sitting working and then go down the stairs and there you were playing. And I remember I was so nervous because me and my brother were so huge fans of your first band. So we oh man, we want to see them, but we can't talk to them. I can talk to David because I know him. And my brothers And my brother and my friend's girlfriends were with us. And they were the ones who took contact with you. We just stood awkwardly in a corner and they started talking to you. So all of a sudden, I got to meet you.
I remember at the time I had this super ambitious video idea for the Paradise song. I had this idea because I was living in Gothenburg and I loved biking through the city. And I was so amazed that so a lot of my friends were taking the bus or the tram. We have trams in Gothenburg. And I had a bike and it was called Tornado. I wrote a song about, it was not really about, it was just named after the bike because it's hard to, because I have no imagination whatsoever. That's basically why. I loved this Tornado bike anyway. And I was very proud of how fast it was through the city. So all my friends were like we were going to a party on the other side of the city and they were like, see you there. And they were like going on the tram. And I was just going on my bike, and I always had to wait for them like half an hour or an hour before they got there, you know? So my ambitious video idea was to have a 16-minute long empiric experiment to the Paradise song about a bike ride through Gothenburg compared to a car ride and compared to a tram ride. And then we were going to start at the same time. And then on a mountain in Gothenburg, we had the band ready. And whoever got there first could play the Tom Morello guitar part was the idea. And I was like talking to the this is serious.
I remember this. I remember this.
Yeah, because when I met Hannes, I said, I have this video idea. Maybe we can do this together. That was like the first thing we talked about working together. We discussed this concert when you saw Vintergatan for the first time in Vänersborg. And then I ended up actually emailing with a Swedish helicopter company who was filming Planet Earth for BBC because they had the helicopter with this gyro cam for like $1 trillion that they were like zooming in like antelope and lion hunts, you know, so they could like be 1,000 meters up in the sky and still zoom into the eye of a running lion, you know. That was they could, and it was still sharp and it was stable. So I was discussing with them about doing this video, and so I called. And this is pretty funny because I called Hannes in my phone. I put him up as Hannes Paradis because I thought he was going to make the video for the Paradis song. And then we have the artist Vanessa Paradis. So now his name in my phone is Vanessa Paradis.
That's a cute story.
I think that video never happened. And this is actually really funny because that video never happened. But I met you. And since then we've been working together. And you've been like the backbone of when I'm going mentally weak, you're always like there for me. Yeah. And vice versa sometimes.
Yeah. The most fun part is that ambitious Paradise music video resulted in the slightly less complicated video with the first marble machine.
Yeah, that was the first thing we did together, and it was so cool actually. I think a lot of people don't know this, but it's stupid because I was in the exact same place then that I am right now because I'm struggling so much with the Marble Machine X right now. And I was in a bad place, basically. In a privileged bad place because I had artistic issues. But still, I had deep artistic issues. And basically, you came into the project when the machine was almost finished, the original one. And I had issues writing a song for it. So I had literally in my computer I had 108 different Marble Machine songs for the first machine.
108?
Yeah, 108 I had.
It
was like, yeah. I remember I was just going back and forth, and my mom got tired of me, and we in a phone call she said, "You just have to finish this now. Just have to finish this now." And then Hannes came to the studio. And if you follow we built a video wall. It's a super epic video episode where Hannes said, "We built our own goddamn video wall." I think you're saying. Anyway, did you say that?
Something like that, yeah.
So yeah,
cocky like that.
Yeah, I was like, I could never be cocky like that on video. I was so impressed by you that you pulled that off in front of the camera.
Such a cool guy.
Yes. That, in a way, I feel like I'm a kind of a YouTube clown. Sometimes I don't like that side of myself, and you are just like rock solid. You're actually cool for real. Like I know how to play cool, but you're like cool for real.
You never saw the outtakes of me when I tried to film my intro for like last week's episode where I was introducing the video. That was not a cool guy, I can tell you that. I know how to act cool outwards. I'm not cool inside, okay? I'm highly fragile.
That's why we like each other.
Yeah.
But you had this strange. This is something that probably will come up in our podcast, because a theme for our Hypetrain conversations that we've been had during years now is how to kind of get a grip on yourself, right? And you've been doing the most amazing. I've seen you from afar doing, like, when things have been hard, you found your exercise. When now you're like lifting 3 million kilos.
Yeah, roughly that.
Yeah. And like you found that, and Hannes also started a while ago. You started the Train Nerds, which was like this big thing that really took off. And I don't know, there's something about your resilience that which makes me. I don't really agree that you're that fragile. That's what I want to say.
Okay.
Anyway. The story I was starting on with the Marble Machine song, and so you were in my studio, and basically you almost moved to Gothenburg.
Yeah.
You were there all the time, and you were just hanging out with me, and I was writing this song, and I started it, and it was like, it was okay, but good, but not fantastic. That's like the worst.
Yeah, I remember like we started planning and shooting the video with a different song. I don't want to say it was bad, but it wasn't as catchy. It wouldn't have been the viral success. I won't say it was bad, but it wasn't good. No, that sounded harsh. It was okay, but not the punch that the new song had. And I guess you're coming to the moment when you composed the original song.
Yeah, it was this, so Paul McCartney says in interviews that he still doesn't know how to write a song, and it's exactly the same for me. No comparison between me and Paul McCartney otherwise. But so what happened was that we were trying to film. I was miserable. I had broken my back working over my head with my hands for too long. I've been standing like, oh. Sorry, I just had a little issue with my bubbles here. Hang on.
Emergency. Oh no.
Yeah.
Beware of your bubbles.
So, I was working with my hands too high, so I had super much back pain. So between each take, I had to lie down on the floor on a mattress, like to be able to stand up. And basically, I was kind of miserable because I've been building this machine, and I wasn't happy with the song we were playing. And late one night, I think you and me, we were listening to Dr. Wile's Castle from Mega Man 2.
Oh yeah.
And you were playing some music, and I just went over to my piano, and I don't know if I had the melody before, if I tried it, but I was just like, Hannes, what do you think about this? And I was just dun 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 dun.
And I was like, that's okay. We're starting to get somewhere.
And then actually I went over to, and I think you have this filmed somewhere deep in your hard drives. Then I went over to the computer, and I just made a do this on the computer. I played that in the big speakers, and then I was like, dunk, dunk, do, 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 do. And 20 minutes later, we were basically dancing to the demo in the studio.
Yeah.
And doing high fives, and yeah, this is the song. And a very fun something that happened was that we filmed the whole video to the old song, then we put the new song onto the film, and I remember you showed it to your mother, and she was like, "Oh, it's the machine playing," but the machine was actually playing another song.
Well, that's true. I remember it so well. It was like 2 o'clock in the night when we started like redoing the song. It was one of those magical nights where like everything had gone completely like, gone to, I don't want to swear on this. Nothing had worked the whole day.
Yeah.
And we were miserable, and we were like, okay, we need to go to bed. And I usually just started playing some strange music to you. I'd like show you what I listen to, so a lot of German power metal and stuff like that. And you're like, okay, yeah, that's kind of okay. That's fine, I guess. And then I just went over to, let's listen to some video game music instead. And I just remembered when it all shifted, and when you get that hype.
It's a strange beast, creativity, because it pushes you into the flow like nothing else, and it's like hunting for chanterelles in a Swedish forest. It's like you can walk for hours and you don't see a single one, and then all of a sudden you find a place, and the ground is orange from the chanterelles, you know.
Oh. Beautiful. That was exactly the marble machine.
So anyway, yeah. So as you can tell, like Hannes has been a big part of the Vintergatan story since early days.
And now I'm branching out and taking more and more space. Now I'm in the videos, and now I'm in a podcast with you. I'm taking over. I don't know if you noticed, but I'm taking over slightly.
It feels so good. It feels so good.
We need to replace Martin.
Yeah, I'm replacing myself. I'm replacing the YouTube clown Martin with what I realized. One thing which is so nice with time, with aging, and with like becoming 1 year older every year, like we all are, is that you can actually reinvent yourself over time, and you can kind of you have a new chance to grow into something you're more comfortable with, kind of with what you learn. And I think a lot of our phone calls has been about that. And I just talked to Johanna, my friend, yesterday, and I said to her, like, it's actually so cool, because the relationship you have with yourself can actually develop as long as you live. And this ties in to, you said that you are taking over the YouTube channel. And this is about, and I'm so happy for this, because I've been so manic, you know, with how the public perceives basically what I'm doing. So I'm trying to edit everything to some kind of perfect mirror image of what I dream about doing, kind of. So the weekly YouTube videos has been like the most fun thing ever, but it has also become this thing where I am intelligent enough to understand what the algorithm needs, and I can read the statistics. So I actually know the best formula for a Vintergatan video. I kind of cracked the codes a little bit. I've been working a lot with that during the years, but it's now come to this point where I need to walk away from like really trying to please everyone. So pleasing myself, pleasing the audience, and pleasing the algorithm, it's impossible when I'm trying to build a Machine X. So like 3 weeks ago, I had this breakdown where I was like, I'm not getting enough done. I'm just sitting and thinking about the YouTube videos. and you stepped in like a hero. And it's been absolutely wonderful to see you taking over. So you take over, and it's very, very, very welcome.
Well, I'm glad I can help.
Did that make sense, Hannes?
Yeah. It's beautiful. I don't know what to say. You give me so much compliments today. It's like you've been waiting to tell the world about this. And here you get the chance. Now I get all the love. I blush.
No, but it's true. It's true. And I was always like, I think every art you create is like, my friend Marcus Timbudis, he said, the raw bid for connection. He said, when you reach out to someone and you want them to be your friend, it's like the most beautiful act you can do. And that's why you feel so let down if you're telling someone you love them and they say that they're not interested. It's like you make this raw bid for connection. And I think what I'm doing with my work, I want to connect to people, but I'm so introvert, so it's not always that easy. But then with you, I have a connection, and that's basically what I'm talking about. So that's why I'm giving you so much love right now.
Yeah, and I feel like with this podcast and the new ways we're doing episodes, we're letting people see our relationship a lot more, how we interact. It's a lot of silliness when we talk to each other.
Yeah.
And when we talk to each other, it always feels like, well, we can take over the world. It's how hard can it be?
That's the cool thing, and that's for everyone out there. Actually, like before we were recording this podcast, I was like, what is the use of this podcast? I was like having this critical filter thinking, and then we were like, oh, okay, we're gonna have an unfiltered version of ourselves, and we're gonna have fun. Okay, so that's good for us. But right here, I just want to highlight something for anyone listening. If you're creating something, you have what Hannes just told you, that when we're talking, it feels like we can take over the world together. You have to surround yourself with people who makes you feel like that. And you have to ask for feedback on your songs you're writing or your videos you're making from people who understand a creative endeavor. Don't ask your peers, because your peers doesn't want you to success, basically, because they're afraid that you will run away from them. If you show your and maybe your, I think you all, when you hear this, you will think about your friends, and you will know like, yeah, it's that person who I respect so much, who's so good at playing music, who's never impressed with my songs, and I keep on showing the songs to that person because I want the respect from that person. Stop showing your songs to that person. Show the songs to someone else who gives you something good back. And I think everyone who tries to do something creatively, be very careful about where you ask for feedback. And that's basically the function you've had all the time. You just like, what is it called? You just like pumped up my hype. Yeah, the Hypetrain. You just pumped up the hype behind the whole Vintergatan project. You're like, yeah, we're going to go on world tour. We're going to live in hotel rooms, which we both love. We're going to work out at the gym every morning. And we're going to do some fun stuff on the free days, you know, like we share that dream. And so if you're making something, be careful about who you're asking for feedback. If it doesn't make you feel good, ask someone else. And then of course I don't mean don't listen to good critique, but when people give you feedback, they have to kind of have the basic feeling that hey, thank you for creating something for the world. Do you see where I'm going with this?
Yeah. I totally agree. I don't know what to add to this. You're putting everything so eloquent.
I'm preaching.
I love it. It's like I'm just sitting here listening to a seminar on happiness. And I know that you and me both, we're sometimes so miserable, but this is how our conversation works. Like right now, you're telling me how I should do to be happy.
Can I just point out that after like I went out on a little bit limb there. I was like telling you guys how to think and how to do, and then I felt a little ashamed about that. And then I said, I'm preaching. I excused myself a little bit for giving you that speech. And then Hannes replies, I love it. So that's what you need, you know, if you're gonna put yourself naked out there in the blistering thunderstorm that's called the reality. You better have some protection with you, and if it can come in the form of a Hannes.
Oh my! Oh, brilliant!
Oh,
yeah, but I know we work so well together because we're both equally messed up. I think I always tell that as soon as I get interviewed or something like that, I always felt like you and me, we're equally disturbed in a good way. You need to be semi-crazy to do the stuff that you do. And I can be kind of messed up myself. In a good way. Like, we get manic about certain things. I don't think any people can do the Marble Machine video. People would have given up. Firstly, like, you built that thing for almost 2 years. People would not do that. And then we filmed it for like a month. And all the endeavors we have done, it's been semi-crazy, but in a good way. I say, I don't know what psychologists would say about it, but I feel we're kind of equally messed up. A yin and yang situation, perhaps. Together, we're almost one complete person.
Talking about crazy in a good way. Michael Jordan.
Michael Jordan. The Last Dance. The best docu-series for like 10 years.
Yeah.
I was hesitant, like, do I tell you about it? Because perhaps it isn't your kind of thing. But I saw some more episodes and like, oh, I think Martin will dig this. I think he will understand the pursuit of Michael Jordan. How that brain works. And I've so enjoyed, like, you got even more hyped than me on this series.
It was amazing in so many ways. We analyzed it, of course, also from the storytelling perspective, like how well it's produced and how well they tie this story together.
Perfectly crafted. Oh.
Yeah, it's like they have this long arc of The Last Dance, overarching everything, and then they have all these mini arcs under it. Everything makes sense, and there is something beautiful about. I don't know. I was very touched. It was like a surprise to me, who doesn't know anything about basketball. It was surprisingly.
Let me just, before we talk more about it, let's contextualize if there's someone listening who doesn't know what we're talking about.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, The Last Dance. A documentary series on Netflix, 10 episodes, and it chronicles the basketball team, the Chicago Bulls, which were famous for having, arguably, or not arguably, the best player in the world, Michael Jordan. And it chronicles their, like, dynasty years, when they had won 5 championships and they were going for the 6th. And it was rumored to perhaps be the last one. And that's why it's called The Last Dance. You follow the last season, where before the coach and Michael Jordan and all the other pro players, it was going to be their final season. And you get an in-depth view of Michael Jordan, all the players, and the whole organization, basically. So, let's continue on, Martin.
That's very professional of you with the context. Context is something very... I always go on about context for YouTube videos.
I've learned my lesson, Martin.
No, but I'm very impressed, actually. It's true. So, no, but it was... Hannes told me about this series, and I am very impatient with TV and films. I have a really black or white thing. After 3 minutes, I stop most films I start to try to watch. I despise series because I just feel that if they have economic success, they will never tie the story together. That's just so I feel cheated by any series who hasn't told me with how many seasons it is and promised to never make another season. Basically, I need closure on entertainment. I only need things that I only want to watch things that. So first of all, I was skeptical because of that it was a series, or I was like, I don't know. But then when Hannes tells me that it's fantastic and really recommends it to me, I knew I had to give it a try, and I was of course glued to the screen from the first second. It was something about. Yeah, what I was going to say before the context, I was so surprised it was so aggressive, the sport. I didn't know it was so much about dominance and kind of try to invoke fear, or like try to be kind of a huge mental game going on. And this kind of mental game, seen from Michael Jordan's perspective a lot, was so interesting to follow. And then you told me before I saw the first episode that you are Scottie Pippen.
I am the Scottie Pippen to your Michael Jordan. That's right. Michael Jordan, the genius of the game, and Scottie Pippen was the best assist generator. Like, he always sets up Michael Jordan.
And the most underpaid player as well. So
yeah. Well, I didn't think of that, but okay. Underrated.
It all fits. No.
I love it.
No, but anyway, how do we make this interesting for the listeners? Maybe we don't have to. We
just need to recommend it to everyone, and I think to just follow along the strive of perfection that Michael Jordan has, and like you get to see the struggles of being the best player and also in a team sport. Like he needs his teammates needs to perform as good as him. And the interesting psychology in like, well, that's almost like he's a tyrant.
Yeah.
Because he's yelling at all the players and you need to step up your game. And some people can see him as a tyrant and bullying, but it worked. Like he got them to be the best versions of themselves by leading the way. And I don't want to spoil anything, but when you get to the last 2 minutes of episode 7, I think that's what 2 of the best minutes of anything produced of all time when it comes to storytelling.
Wow.
When Michael Jordan kind of has to defend his way of playing. I almost get teary-eyed now when I think about it. It's so brilliant. And I heard an interview about with the director of the series. And he said it was during that 2-minute interview they knew they had a series.
Wow.
When he gave that kind of defending speech on the way he played. I get goosebumps now. I love it so much. I've seen those 2 minutes like 20 times since the series came out. I love them so much. It's so brilliant. We can't go too deep in it without spoilers. I just recommend everyone to, even if you're not a sports fan, just give it a go because of the human psychology of it all. It's so, you get so inspired by the motivation of this guy. It's insane.
He's like, when they're in the dressing room, he starts some kind of game with his bodyguards to throw a coin as close as he can to the wall. Like, he can't stop competing. He has to compete.
Everything.
And he gets pissed off when he's about to lose, and then of course he wins. His coin is coming closest to the wall, which means he wins like $1 or something, and he puts this dollar in his pocket as if it was his life, you know?
Yeah. Anything he competed in, he wanted to be the best.
Yeah.
And of course that can be like kind of dickish to some, but also it's so interesting with people like that. They need to excel in every way, in all aspects of life. And if you don't get motivated to perform better after you watch this series, I don't know what's wrong with you. I get so pumped up. I just want to go to the gym and like, okay, I need to be better. I need to come back better.
It's interesting. I didn't even know this because I'm basically not following what's happening on the internet so much. I'm deliberately staying away because that's why I'm so proud, by the way, of the Vintergatan community and the climate we have on our new Discord server and stuff that we just been starting on. I think it's a really nice climate, but I heard that there was some controversy about Michael Jordan's methods.
Yeah.
And of course, we weren't there. And this documentary is, of course, produced with Michael Jordan's approval. So, of course, we are being told, and that's the beauty and danger with video, is that it look like you can, when you tell a story so convincingly, you really feel as a viewer as you're walking away with the truth.
Yeah.
So, of course, I have to like disclaim by saying that I wasn't there. I have no clue. But so I'm not putting a part in the debate regarding if he was a bully or not. Personally, he doesn't seem like a bully to me, but I have no clue.
Yeah.
But what I think you can take away easily, what you have to be able to take away from this, is this crazy motivation and the methods. Just how he tricks himself into performing. It's crazy. It's so fantastic. It's beautiful. There's a lot of, just if you're on the fence on watching it or not, there's a lot of beautiful portraits about other people. It's not all about Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
So you get to meet a lot of characters, and they are as interesting. So yeah, okay.
But I think I just want to, before we leave The Last Dance and the bully talk and everything, I think he sums it up. He sums it up quite beautifully with the lines, "All right, I pushed my teammates hard, and everybody's gonna think that I'm a tyrant when you see this. But everybody should know, like, I didn't tell my teammates to do anything that I wouldn't effing do myself." Like, if he didn't perform at his best, he can't demand that other people do it as well. So he was always on the front lines being like, I'm the best and I want you to be as good as you can be.
It's interesting because I'm kind of I'm put in a involuntary leadership position. So I'm now running my own company, of course, that is behind everything I do. And now I have some employees. We are like 4 people in the team now. And we really need to expand. And I'm running this huge volunteering project where I haven't started to think about leadership. I have the band as well. And this ties back to what I said earlier about becoming wiser with time, because I haven't really. So basically, I love to learn new stuff. So I learned disc golf, and not to brag, but I started disc golf as a hobby, and I ended up playing in the Swedish national championship. I lost my matches 10-0, 11-0, 11-1 against a guy who took silver in European championships in disc golf. So I was like the GOAT in Jurassic Park, basically. But what I want to say is that I love, and this is Chris' analysis. Chris is one of our teammates, and this is his analysis of me. And I love to learn new stuff, and I think the next thing that I really want to learn is how to be a good leader, because I have to like embrace my new position as a leader. So I need to like, and I'm totally not secure in this role, basically, it was fun. Andrew from the MMX team, he made me make a personality test. And I ended up being a mediator. And it said I was 10% assertive and 90% turbulent. I asked Andrew, is that good leadership material? And he was like, we can work with that.
But you're talking about leadership, and like I see your leadership. Like I work with you and for you. So I'm kind of close with you on that. I think that's also why I talking about the Jordan documentary again. And like leadership is about leading by showing. And I think that's one of your biggest strengths. Is like you also always demand more, but not more than you yourself can do. That's the way we edit videos. Like you're the king of doing Vintergatan videos. You know exactly how it should be. And the videos you do, they are great. And like you show me all the time, like, oh, he's the master of it. And that makes me, okay, I need to step up my game. That's why you're the Jordan to my Pippen.
See, you all need someone who backs them up.
Yeah, actually, I have some hours left on my day, so if anybody wants to call me and have their personal hype train, you can just call me. That's my professional role in this world, just being a hype train rolling around.
This is just self-therapeutic for us both, isn't it?
Yeah, well, that's the beauty of this, I think. And we will find our way to do this in probably more entertaining ways, but mostly this is just us talking to each other, talking about our problems. And some episodes are probably going to be really tough to listen to because we're going to open ourselves up in uncomfortable ways. I always go there, talking about my issues, my breakdowns, how I feel. Yeah, probably going to happen because this is not our working hour. Like now we just get to talk. Like mostly when we talk to each other, it's mostly because we're going to hype up the next video and talk about, oh, how can we make it cool? What should be in the video? This is our way to just chat.
Yeah.
And of course, it's a little bit uncomfortable right now because people are going to listen to this. But hey, it's mostly for you and I. That's how I feel it.
Yeah, it's. I remember we were in my summer house, or my parents' summer house, where I recorded parts of the first Vintergatan album. I wrote Paradis and recorded the whole song there in the middle of the forest. I was living by myself for 6 months, and it was so cool because the nature changed so much. So like, it was over a summer. So 1 week, the house was full with butterflies inside the house. The next week, no butterflies, only bumblebees. Next week came the flies. And it was like, normally you think summer is summer, but when I was living in that forest, I was like, okay, this animal comes out 3rd week of June, and then it's done. You know, it was so cool. And then, where am I going with this, Hannes? Yeah, last summer, you and me went there together for an epic week. We stayed there with my parents, and it's in the middle of a nature reserve and has a lot of cool walking paths.
And no cellular reception.
Yeah, actually, that ties into my whole dopamine essay I made in the video, actually.
Yeah.
No cell phones, no internet, and stunning Swedish nature. Norwegian nature is cooler, but okay. Stunning Swedish nature.
Yeah.
And me and Hannes were walking. It was fun because I picked you up, and then we were like going there, and then we were walking. And the first 3 or 4 days, it was like a silent agreement between us that we wouldn't talk about, because we didn't actually work together up until then. We had a break in our working relationship.
Yeah. I was so burnt out and miserable and had depression for a year, and this was my coming back tour almost.
And part of the fact that you were burnt out, it felt like you worked for a horrible manic boss, which is Martin anno 2018.
I wouldn't say it like that, but of course that was a part of it. I worked too much that entire year, like working with you, and I also worked with a feature-length animated movie at the side. Like that's a quite big job. I was animation coordinator on that one, so it was 2 full-time jobs. Of course, I was meant to break down.
Now when I think about it, it's like we tried to work 200% and the film was probably 150%. So there you have a nice little 400% workload. So we had this long break actually in our working relationship. And I think during this time was definitely where our Hypetrain telephone calls started to be most intense, because you were in a low place and I've been up and down in a low place I've been up and down my whole life. So anyway, back to the Swedish forest. First 4 days we didn't talk about work at all, and then it was like we were walking like every day. We were walking like 20-30 kilometers through the forest. Came home at night like being totally exhausted, and go out the next day again and just do these long wanderings. And then I think it was like 4th or 5th day we started to talk about how to make YouTube videos in a way that is fun for us, right? And especially we discussed like the discrepancy between our private persons and our public personas.
Yeah.
And basically, I always strive to make it personal but not private. I have a kind of a really, really strict line when I make a YouTube video to make it personal, to tell people how I feel and who I am and what I'm trying to do. But I don't kind of think I need to go and make it private, because it's not really a private conversation. So we were talking about how we could make like YouTube content together that was a little bit more relaxed, basically.
Yeah.
And we had this huge dream, and I had this plan many times, like focus on the Marmachine X, focus on the music, and be relaxed about YouTube. And we were like high-fiving, and it was woot woot. And then we came back, and I just fell down in completely the same tracks as I'm always. Like, I'm trying to make one video a little bit more relaxed. It gets worse analytics. I feel I have to save the situation by making a better video next week, basically. And what I'm coming to is that it feels like our talk that we had last summer in Sweden has now incubated and led up until the moment we have right now.
Yeah.
Where we're actually prioritizing. I am prioritizing my art, and you are holding the fort admirably. And we are making YouTube videos that we kind of feel good about, even if it's more of a weekly update. It's less of an explosion of music and problem solving. It's more of a true project update, but it's kind of, we're pivoting the content in a very sustainable way, and it's very challenging, but it feels amazing.
It's not as flashy, but there's still a story being told, at least, and we keep the narrative. But we don't need to shock the audience every week with flashy images. Like, this is easier for all of us. Just, okay, what's the story? The machine is being built. Let's tell the story, not focus on doing the most epic beauty shots. There's a time for that, and that is not now. Like, when the machine is done, then we need to do all the cool videos. Right now, just tell the story. And I love this new format. I think we have something brilliant on going right there.
You always told me that we need to have some kind of different kind of tiers of videos. Like, we have to have some kind of everyday basic stuff to then come out and knock people off their socks, or what it's called. Now I'm trying to
rock
be cool
the socks
again.
off. Like, where do we go from here? We need to have that. Like we need to have a little lever we can like spinal tap it like now we turn it to 11.
And what would Michael Jordan say if Scottie Pippen suggested that in the middle of the season?
That's true. But also he says, well, the regular season doesn't matter. It's all about the playoffs, baby.
Okay, that's absolutely true. Now, so like if there's anyone listening out there, like we are just collecting inspiration to make. I am planning like this like camera robot to film the Marble Machine X against this cyclorama acoustic wall that Olivier is helping me build. Like we are planning. We're gonna make like I want to make the best videos in the world, the highest quality of video making in the world, with the perfect color grading, the perfect sound mix. Like we can do that, and we're going to do that. But right now we're taking a deliberate decision to make something documentary.
Yeah.
During the process, and it's been really, really, really. It took me very long to dare to do this. Actually,
the stress of doing awesome sauce videos every week is too big. Like step down a little bit. As talking about leadership, that's a big thing. Like, okay, step back a bit. Like you have done now and letting me be in charge of everything. That's brilliant.
But that was like I'm such a micromanager. Like I am
What? Oh, stop the presses. Here we go. I'm just enjoy a sip of my ice cold beverage here. Listen
I'm gonna
to
take some bubbles. Cheers. Cheers, everyone who's listening. If you're
I missed my mouth.
What?
Fail.
Oh, everyone is gonna say, we want video, we want video. I don't want to sound complaining about this, but most YouTube channels, they do YouTube videos for a living.
Yeah.
For 100% of their time, they're planning their work life to make the best YouTube videos. They're choosing a subject. I mean, there are YouTube channels who are not doing that. But they're choosing a subject that they know will have a good title and a good thumbnail, that will have a good context, that has interest for the viewers, etc., which makes for a successful YouTube channel. And I've been trying to do that with the Vintergatan channel. We have been trying to do that. But the artistic process of the Marble Machine X doesn't lend itself perfectly to that, because all of a sudden I need to learn what project management is. And
that's not that interesting YouTube content, but a brilliant story.
Exactly. And this is yeah, for the part of our audience who are really understanding what we're trying to do, who is still watching the videos right now, they get this, and that's so warming to see. That's the people are on Discord and the people who are watching the basketball team who is losing a little bit in the middle of the season. But what's kind of fun is that if we go back to the project management video and we see that I made like a little fantasy story about the larvae who become the butterfly, that was the death kiss of Martin trying to hype up something.
Yes.
Like basically what happened is that you edited the video. I didn't provide a lot of material, so you didn't have a lot to work with. You sent it to me like for review or little post editing. And I was like sitting in my studio and I was like, how can I give a twist to this video? You know, how can I make this entertaining? And I started to make this whole story about this animation. And that takes me a full day, because I go in, I totally creatively go into flow with the larvae and the butterfly.
Yeah.
And I create this story. We post it on YouTube. And that day, I haven't pushed my art at all. I have just created this larva story. And I think the week after, what happened actually, we released that video. We got a copyright claim on my own song because it's a hassle with the content idea. content idea.
Oh no! Oh no! You're going
now
there.
Now I'm saying wrong the other way. And then basically, I was calling with my friend, and I was telling her about the title and the thumbnail, and I had to change the thumbnail and everything. And she was like, silent in the telephone and said, "Martin, this sounds really serious. You need to calm down."
Mm. You got too much hype from the Hypetrain. You need to calm down, man.
Yeah, it was fantastic. That very day, I called you and I was like, "Hannes, it's time for a tag team. I need you to save me." And since then, you've been taking over the videos, and I have been more focused on the machine. So that has been amazing. And now we're doing this like unfiltered, being, I don't know how useful we are right now, but we are having fun.
Yeah. And I think this is a beautiful thing, especially for me and for you, to just, because on the YouTube videos, we don't want to put in a lot of the struggle, as you say. You don't want to complain. But doing art and like deliver stuff every week, it is hard. It is demanding. And we feel crappy a lot of times. And people don't need to listen to this. They can still watch the YouTube videos if they don't want to hear. This is more personal. I think here is a place where we can be a little bit more personal. Talk about the issues we have, the problems we have. I think it's a beautiful thing. And I think people can relate to it. Here, we are human.
Get ready for 3 hours of boo-hoo. This is
our boo-hoo podcast.
Okay, now we come to the section of the podcast called boo-hoo. But what I want to boo-hoo about right now, Hannes, is that what I'm worried about humanity, Hannes.
Oh.
Because we're all getting metrics, we're all getting analytics about how good we are performing in life now.
Yeah.
Even if you're not having okay, let's start with a successful YouTube channel, in quotation mark, like Vintergatan. If I have 500,000 views one week and we get 300,000 views the next week.
Failure.
Yeah, failure. That doesn't read in human psychology like 300 amazing views. That reads like 200,000 people don't care about you anymore.
Yeah.
And the problem is that this is happening everywhere for everyone. So if you have an Instagram account and you really like a picture that you put up, and for some algorithmic reason, you're getting less likes, you're not gonna get that dopamine shot that you would have get if you got like more likes than usual. You're gonna feel a little bit bad. And I don't have kids, but I can't tell you how happy I am that there was no internet when I was like 7 years old.
Oh.
I don't know, like if you're being bullied in school, you're basically bullied in your phone now. And I don't understand how a kid can deal with that. And a kid getting... So what I want to boo-hoo about is that we're measuring our success in metrics that are measurable. Number of views, how long people watched, and how many advertising companies wanted to put an ad in front, and how much money you could make from this video, etc., etc. These are all the numbers coming towards you when you run a YouTube channel. And like for me, I wanted to crack the code, so basically I became manic about that. And as I said in another video, you become you get not addicted, you get used to growing.
Yeah.
So a status quo is like a failure. And I think everyone can basically relate to this. As I said, if you're posting anything online, that we're constantly being evaluated. It's this wonderful Black Mirror episode when they rate each other socially. Have you seen that?
Yeah. Brilliant.
Yeah, it's like, I know it's a cliche to say that Black Mirror is just like 3 weeks before reality, but that episode is just so amazing.
Yeah.
And in the end, yeah, I'm not gonna spoil it, but I don't. It's called Pink, no, something with pink.
Yeah. Something like that.
Yeah. We can put it in the show notes.
Yeah.
we don't have.
We're
never gonna put it in the. We're never gonna put it in the show notes.
We don't have time for that. This is raw.
But how are you, Hannes? With like you have an Instagram account. How do you handle that? Do you have issues with the analytics from the Instagram account, or are you just chill?
Of course I have. A lot less nowadays because I think I've changed my mental state a lot. But of course, when you put out something cool, like when I do a new record lift at the gym or something, I want it to explode. I still wonder, like, if I have 400 followers, why does only 30 people like it? What are all the others doing? I'm trying to shift the focus just to have like, okay, well, at least 30 people loves me. That's good enough for me. I don't know. It's super difficult. It's super difficult.
Human psychology, we register one negative much higher than one positive. So so we're just somehow wired like that, and that's why these metrics are really hard to relate to, I think, personally.
Yeah.
So the glass is always half empty online.
And I was thinking about something you talked about earlier with doing flashy and cool videos all the time to get more views. And then you ended up with doing the video with the PM butterfly animation. Doesn't it get really exhausting just trying to magically come up with material all the time, even if it wasn't anything cool happening with the machine? You're like, oh, I need to do an animation instead to just have some edge on this video. Like, isn't that a big part in your new role now? Just, okay, step back, let art speak for itself. Don't try to every week fake
excitement.
Yeah, fake excitement. And like, oh, look, everything is going so great, everybody. No need to tune out. Everything is working magically. I mean, that must get so exhausting.
Yeah, when you're hitting the nail on the spot, or what?
the hammer on the nail, on the spot, on the thing.
No, but that's exactly it.
And I can understand why it gets so psychologically gets so difficult when you're used to have a lot of views and you have a lot of cool ideas, and all of a sudden, oh, I'm focusing so much on the videos, I can't do anything new on the machine. Like, what do I have this week? Oh, all I have is an animation with Excel sheets. That's all I can muster now. And like, that gets so personal. Like, you want to show the world awesome stuff all the time.
Yeah. And the project like the Marble Machine X is awesome all the time in a really high level view, but in an everyday grunt work, it's really, really not awesome all the time.
No.
It's so much, quotation mark, boring grunt work that needs to be done. And while I'm animating butterflies, that work is not being done.
No. That's so exciting to follow you now. That's interesting. Like, when I do the videos now and like to have you, okay, trying not to focus on doing animated butterflies.
It's going to go to history like the day
Martin lost his marbles officially was the butterfly.
Yes, you can hear, like, there's a story about the Beatles, Hannes, about the Shea Stadium, SHEA, Shea Stadium, which is a baseball arena in the US. And it's brilliant in the BBC documentary because they cut from all the interviews. So they show Paul McCartney is that it was 40,000 people, and then they cut to Ringo Starr. It was 50,000 people. Then they cut to George Harrison, 70,000 people, and then they cut to like the producer George Martin. It was 80,000 people on Shea Stadium. Like they all had a different figure, different memory. It's so funny. And then what happened is that they didn't have a PA system, so they were using. It was a baseball arena, so they were using like these announcement speakers of the baseball commentator, like 5-0 or whatever in baseball. Yes. I have seen Moneyball. I love that film, but that's the only thing I know about baseball.
And Michael Jordan played it for a short while.
Yeah, that's true. That's kind of crazy. That was kind of crazy. And what happened in the middle of a song is that John Lennon plays electric organ. And John Lennon starts to play organ solo with his elbow. So he just slides up and down the organ with the elbow. And that moment was marked in the career of Beatles. They realized that no one was listening because it was the 50 to 80,000 people were just screaming to be part of the hype train, the Beatles, basically.
Oh.
And John Lennon was playing like a solo with his elbow. And like they said it as a turnaround, and after that they stopped touring and made like the Strawberry Fields Forever album or something like that. That way they went back and created these studio masterpieces. So maybe the Butterfly is not as epic as John Lennon playing Hammond organ solo with his elbow on Shea Stadium, but
in a way I think it is.
Yeah,
I think it's even more epic.
Listeners, if there's anyone out there making any creative stuff, what you can take away from this, you need someone like Hannes to pep you up
and compare you to the Beatles.
Like exactly, like I'm putting out a little insecurity about myself, and he's just like, yeah, but that's actually epic, you know. And this is the hype train. This is what we're talking about. So you showed it all the time. You need this. If you try to do something creative, surround yourself with people who make you feel good.
Beautifully put.
That's my preaching.
Yeah, and we left the boohoo corner and went into epic hype train moment. And I actually think that this is quite a good place to stop this talk, actually.
What?
Yeah,
I was just beginning.
Yeah. I really think the train picked up speed the final 30 minutes. Awkward beginning, but we managed to shuffle some coal into those hype engines, and now we're kind of picking up speed.
I thought it was an electric train. Coal feels a little bit. I don't want to endorse
sorry
coal
for
engine.
my analogy, okay? A train filled with solar panels. The sun is slowly warming up the solar panels, and now we're picking up speed.
We have a fusion reactor in the sky, driving our hype train every day.
Oh.
Come join it.
Well, I thought this was delightful. Awkward but delightful. I think this will be a great tool for us to evolve into
podcast butterflies.
But yeah, I was thinking about that. Beautiful podcast butterflies. We get to bare our hearts a little bit, at least.
I feel a little bit dirty because we've been mostly talking about ourselves.
Yeah, but what should we talk about then?
We know a lot about ourselves.
What else is more interesting? Us or some pop culture thing?
Yeah, it's like, okay, so today's episode is Martin, Hannes, and Michael Jordan. Goodbye.
That's all you need. Well, let's wrap this up.
It's been delightful. Thank you, Hannes, for today.
Yeah, thank you, Martin. Thank you for all the compliments. And I stayed silent for 30 minutes in the beginning when you just talked about how awesome I was.
It was time. It was time to let the world know.
Well, brilliant. Thank you. And, well, talk to you next week.
Woot woot.
Chuga, 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 chuga. Woot woot. There we go.